Hi everybody and welcome to this episode of Shift Happens. Today we're talking to Amit. Amit was born with a disability called NF1, which affected one side of his face. This is a beautiful story of adversity, strength, and absolute empowerment. Now Amit dedicates his life to helping other people come over adversity. He's written a book. So let's talk to Amit and listen to his story. Hi, Amit, welcome. And thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Wow, about myself. Where do I start? I was born with this rare genetic condition called neurofibromatosis type 1, condition no one can pronounce. So it's more commonly known as NF1. It causes tumors to grow on nerves. For me, those tumors grew on my face, making me look very visibly different. So I couldn't really hide it. You know, I couldn't hide it when I was in school. I couldn't hide it growing up. And that made me very lonely and isolated. I remember in school, not a lot of children wanted to be my friend. Not a lot of children wanted to sit next to me. Some because they were scared, others because they just felt, well, if I'm going to be his friend, the cooler kids won't be my friend. And at that age, you don't quite know what depression and anxiety is, but I know I was going through those emotions because I didn't want to be in front of other children. I didn't want to go and play with other children. I just hid in my room. I didn't want to go to school. But just as other children, I too had hobbies, likes, interests, and I loved playing cricket. I was fascinated about cricket. And I never had the courage to play in front of other children. So I used to play in my garden by myself. But one day in year 6, I mustered up this courage to ask a group of boys if I can play with them. First, they laughed, they mocked me, but reluctantly they handed me the ball and I played. And I still remember the batsman was holding the bat with one hand thinking, what's this kid going to do? You know, he's not very good. And I came running in and I bowled really well. And I say this every time I start talking about myself is because it was at that moment, Paula, I went from Amit, the boy with the funny face, to Amit, the boy who plays cricket. And I talk about this confidence code, which is the 4 steps of confidence. And step 1 is embracing who we are. We have to embrace our personality, our hobbies, our likes, because we all have hobbies, cooking, poetry, reading, whatever it might be, music. And the moment we bring that out to the world, the moment we bring that out to the universe, people start connecting with us for that. So when I step into a room, for example, people will see my face, people will wonder what's happened. But when I start speaking to people about my cricket, about my fascination of collecting musical instruments from around the world, about my Sunday walks, about the fact that I love independent coffee shops, suddenly people will be like, oh, this is Amit, plays cricket, collects musical instruments, likes independent coffee shops. They start connecting with me with those attributes. And that's why it's so important to have that first step. So I used that for a very long time, Paula, throughout my life to get through school, get through college. But I never really learned to accept my face. Although I was enjoying cricket and talking about all these wonderful things about myself, what I wasn't doing is acknowledging that I have a visible difference. I used to hide the left-hand side of my face. I used to sit in certain parts of the room where people would only see the right-hand side of my face. Like I could never sit in a room with the camera on this side where it is now and filming me on this side. I just wouldn't feel comfortable. Even sitting on the bus, I'd make sure I go and sit in a certain part where people can see the right-hand side of my face. And that went on for a very long time. That went on through school, through college, through university, getting a job. This constant hiding, this constant going into the room and saying to myself in the mirror, why me? Why do I look like this? Asking the universe, why have I got this condition? I remember I used to go to weddings and see other people with their hair done and everything and feel so envious and so jealous that they've got a normal face and I don't. And one of the most tipping points for me was at a friend's wedding. I was there and I was near the bar, and this Auntie G, as we affectionately call them in our culture, came over to me and said, "Hey, are you upset?" And I was like, "Why would I be upset?" She was like, "Well, we know your friends are getting married, and all your siblings have had arranged marriages, but we know your family are struggling to find a wife for you." And then she tried to say something to comfort me. She was like, "Think of it this way. If you had a daughter, would you want your daughter to marry someone that looks like you?" And that was the point. I was just so broken and I'm so taken back. But with the grace of the universe and the blessings of my family, about a year after that, I met the love of my life, my wife. She was in India, I was in England, and we used to talk on video calls. And I used to hide half of my face to her because that's what I do. I was used to doing that. She let it go the first few times, and on the third or fourth occasion, she said, "Amit, I know what you're doing. If I'm going to marry you, I'm not going to marry half of your face. I'm going to marry all of you. So stop hiding half of your face and own it." And that's when I learned the second biggest lesson of my confidence code, and that's self-acceptance.
Yeah.
We live in this world now where we're constantly seeking validation externally. Everyone wants to be liked by someone. Everyone wants those Facebook, Instagram, TikTok likes. They want to be liked by their boss, their partners. Nobody is looking in the mirror and saying, "You know what? You're good enough. You know what? You've got this." And until you accept who you are, it doesn't matter how much validation other people give you, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to feel fulfilled, and you're not going to feel content. And I learned that through my journey again. Fast forward a few years, we're married. Piali, my wife, has moved to England. My career was in sales, so I was a BD, business development person for Adobe, selling cloud software, doing all of this sort of stuff. And I just had this can-do, get-on-with-it attitude. I had two choices in life. I could sit in the back of the room and feel sorry for myself because I have a visible difference, or I could get up and say, "This is me. I'm going to get on with it." And thankfully, I chose the latter. And my wife said to me, "Why don't you create some content? Why don't you go on social media and try and inspire people and share your journey with them?" And I didn't really think much of it, but wives have a way of nagging you and have a way of getting what they want. So at one point, just to shut her up, I said, "You know what? I'll make a TikTok video." So there was me on TikTok saying, "My name is Amit. I'm born with this condition." And all I said is, "I want to take you on a journey. I want to take you on a journey to help, support, and inspire you using my lived experience." And that became the ethos of everything I do now, because that one video went viral. I was getting over 100,000 views per day on TikTok on it. Oh, wow. I was getting like 2,000-3,000 followers per day, but it wasn't about the numbers. It was about the comments and the DMs that were coming in the back of it, of what difference I was making to people's lives with my content. So I wanted to continue doing this. And then that comes on to the third step, which is belief. Because belief leads to actions. Actions lead to results. I started to believe that I can create an impact in people's life and I can add value in people's life by sharing my story. So I consistently kept sharing stories, kept sharing experiences and how I've been dealing with it. And whilst I was doing all this, I was journaling my childhood. And I was journaling my childhood doing this. And then I got the opportunity to go to US and do a keynote. I got a DM in my Instagram from a charity saying, "We'd love you to be a keynote speaker at our next summit." And I thought, great, online, I'll do it, Zoom. And they're like, no, we'd like you to come to US. And I was like, I can't afford that. And they're like, no, we'll pay for your tickets and we'll pay you to come. And I was like, wow, really? So I went out and I spoke in front of 2,000 people. And my God, was I frightened when I was standing there looking at 2,000 people, patients of people with neurofibromatosis, parents, researchers, clinicians. But I shared my story in the most authentic way ever. I just like I'm talking to you now, I shared my journey, everything, the challenges, the role my father played in my upbringing, all of that. And there were people in tears. There were people smiling. There was a queue of people when I got off stage to take photographs with me. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. Came back to England, told my manager all this. And my manager sent me to his daughter's school to share my journey. So I started sharing my journey there, and a young girl put her hand up. And I think it was at that moment my life completely changed. She said to me, "You have one eye." And I said, "Yes." She goes, "Me too." And nobody in the classroom other than the teachers knew about this. She said, "Me too." She goes, "Can I ask you another question?" I go, "She goes, can you drive?" I say, "Yeah, I can drive." And she goes, "Thank you." And then at the end, she came over to me and said,
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Wow.
And that was
Isn't
it was a burning question I had when I was a child.
Yes.
I wanted to know if I can drive with one eye.
Yeah.
And she goes, "I feel so much better that I'll be able to drive one day. Thank you." She gave me a hug at the end of the session and everything. It was went back to my manager and said, "Thank you so much for sending me to your daughter's school. Here's my notice.
Oh,
I'm leaving because I've
Amit.
found my passion." And
Yes.
Simon Sinek talks about finding your why.
Yes.
I found my why.
the why. Yeah.
I found my why, I handed in my notice, and I left without knowing what's going to happen next or how I'm going to monetize my life and how, we just moved out with my wife, got our own house. No idea how I'm going to pay for the mortgage or anything like that. All I knew was I want to create value, create impact, add value, create impact, add value. And I kept doing that. I kept going to schools and talking at schools. I kept making myself visible. And that is the fourth step of all of this. All of these things can become possible if you consistently take action. Consistently take action. It's all good embracing who you are. It's all good accepting yourself. It's all good believing. But if you're not going to be consistent, you're not going to get to where you are. And a prime example of that, and I know I'm giving you a really long answer for your question.
No, that's fine.
Brilliant.
This is great.
But a prime example of consistency is people look at me and say, "Oh, Amit, are you always this confident?" And the answer is no, I'm not. I'm not always as confident. I have drops, and we're all going to have drops in life. So not so long ago, I went for a walk, and I was just going to get some milk. And a group of boys saw me, and they saw my face, and like, "Yo, look at that guy's face, man." And then another guy said, yeah, he's on TikTok, man. He's got a mashed up face. And it completely destroyed me. I came home, I cried thinking, why me again? But it's that journey of consistency. Again, I had to build myself up through consistency and say, I'm going to be okay. So throughout all of this, I got to a point where now I am an advocate for people with visible differences. I share my journey to help, support, inspire people. I turned my journal into a book for children called Born Different. That talks about my journey and how I dealt with the acceptance piece at that time. And here I am. I truly embrace and accept who I am. I acknowledge that I have a condition. I can't change the way I look. What I can change is my mindset. And in doing so, I want to help others do the same.
Amit, what an inspiration. I feel like I want to come across the table and give you a big love. It is wow. It is wow. And to turn that into something in the way that you have done is wonderful. Is absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
So I'd like to dig into your story a little bit more, if that's okay. And I think that something that's really, really important is to go back to your childhood, that little boy. You've written a book.
Yes.
Which I have the privilege of having, which is wonderful. Thank you. I want to kind of get into the mind of that little boy. So what did it feel like? When were you first aware that you were different? And how was that?
So I remember...
what was life?
I remember there would be incidences at home where other family members would come or relatives would come over with children of similar age. And children are very blunt, very curious, they'll just say how it is. And they would say, Mummy, what happened to that boy's face? And then they'd hide behind their parents, scared. And I think that was the moment for me of every time someone saying, Mummy, what happened to that boy's face? Thinking, oh God, I am different. I don't fit in. I don't belong. And then to further solidify that in school, I'd have people not sitting next to me. I used to hate PE lessons because every PE lesson, the PE teacher would say, hey, go pair up with somebody. And then everybody would run to their friends or, the athletic person in the class. And I'd be there waiting for someone to come and pair up with me. I'd be waiting. And then there'd be that embarrassing moment where the PE teacher would pair up with me himself, or he would tell someone to pair up with me. And it was those moments that really made me feel as if I was unwanted. I was lonely. I was isolated. I was not good enough. I didn't want to go to school. I used to think of all the excuses in the world to not go to school because I just feared being rejected constantly. And I was constantly rejected, or I felt that I was constantly rejected.
I think as well, aren't they? All of our core values and beliefs are created between the ages of 0 and 7. So I think knowing the kind of this part of your journey and knowing what you've faced and how you've overcome it, I think it's really important to know kind of what beliefs were created, what beliefs about yourself were created in that period of time, because those are the beliefs that you've had to, and one of your stages is belief, so what beliefs were created in that period of time about yourself?
A lot of it was about not being good enough, not fitting society's expectations. But on the contrary, one of the things that helped me, and I think one of the things that's shaped who I am today, is the way my parents dealt with the condition, the way my family dealt with the condition. My dad knew more about neurofibromatosis in those days than anyone else would. And there was no Google or no internet for him to go and check. He asked all the questions in the world to the doctors when we were there, but he normalized the condition for me. I remember when I started playing cricket, my uncle, his brother, said to him, "What are you doing? Why are you handing him a ball? What if the ball hits his other face and his face breaks even more?" I used to have a big eyelid then, and I used to have an eye and I couldn't see out of it. And he used to say, "What if he loses the other eye? What are you going to do then?" And my dad just said, "If my boy wants to play cricket, he wants to play cricket." And had he not done that at that point, had he not normalized my condition, I don't think I would have been where I am today. It was that fact that, hey, go do what you want to do. Like, he used to tell me off just as he would tell his other siblings off about education, about studies. In the back of their head, he always knew that I need to push more. I need to get a good education. I need to, to meet our society's expectations, especially in our community. If you haven't got a good education, you haven't got a house, you haven't got, you're not a doctor or an engineer, you're not worthy enough. But my dad always used to say to me, "You are who you are." There's one thing that just pops to mind is I'd be looking in the mirror sometimes and I'd just be like touching my tumors and looking at my face, and he'd come behind me and say, "You're a handsome boy. You're a brave boy." And that used to just make me think, at that time I just smiled. And now when I look back and think about it, it's like, he was the brave man. He was the person that got me to where I am today.
Why do you think we live in a society where, things we perceive are different and not normal? Why do you think we live in a society where people think the way that they do?
I think there's a lot of factors that contribute to this. One of the biggest is probably media and film and television.
Yes.
If you think about every single negative character in a Marvel film, they have a visible difference. Why does the villain always have to have a visible difference? Why can't the hero have a visible difference, or the hero's best friend have a visible difference, or someone be in the film with a visible difference, but that not be a part of it? Nobody's born knowing that people with visible differences are bad or ugly or scary. It's how film media puts that in. And I think if that starts changing and that narrative starts changing, people's perceptions will start changing as well.
Yeah, I think listening to your story took me back for when I was at school, and there was a guy in my class that was very different to everybody else visibly as well. He had a visible difference with his face and how he spoke, and straight away we'd all not want to kind of interact, and do you think that it needs to start? Because you've got the people that, like you said, you experience with the mom and the kids going, look at that guy's face, So how do we re-educate from school, going up to the everyday adult person in the supermarket?
I think people need to acknowledge it. Like, children need to ask questions. It's okay to ask questions, but it's about how then parents describe that we're all different. So when I go to schools, I actually changed my last step of consistency to celebrating differences. And I talk about the fact that we're all born different. Everyone is born different. And I ask the whole group to do an activity and say, tell me what your hobby is. And everyone has a different hobby. And I say, isn't it beautiful that we all have different hobbies and likes in here? How would this room be if everyone had the same hobby? How would this room be if everyone looked the same? How would this room be if we all had the same hair color or the same nose, the same eye? It'd be quite boring and dull. So let's celebrate being different. And when we can celebrate being different, it makes it easier.
Do you think, what are your thoughts about, sometimes I like to look at things a little bit differently. Do you feel that you were born with this condition because it was your mission in this lifetime to show people and, a different way of thinking and empowering people?
If you asked me that question 3-4 years ago, I would have said, I don't know what you're talking about. Why am I born like this?
Of course.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I used to get sick. I remember someone said to me once, your parents must have sinned in their life, and that's why you're born like this. And it's a horrible thing to live with. Horrible. But now that I've gone on this journey of transformation, this journey of acceptance, and this journey of sharing my story, I do think that there's a mission in this. And if someone asks me, people used to say to me, oh, don't let your condition be a part of you, Amit. But I do make it a part of me. This is me.
Yes.
This is who I am. Take it or leave it.
That's the acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah. So I do think I'm on a mission now, and this is why I do everything I do.
And I think it just goes to show the power of the mind, and you're absolutely right about that. Having that acceptance within yourself. This is me. And you have, switched your mind and focused your mindset. And I think that's such an inspiration to everybody listening, that once you focus something in your mind that you want to do, anything is possible.
Anything, yeah. Determination is really powerful.
Yeah.
It's knowing, and that consistent action then.
Yes.
Followed by that consistent action creates that change. I mean, I went from somebody who was working a 9-to-5 job in sales to now having more than 300,000 followers across the world. I've been fortunate enough to travel to 15 different countries and speak about my journey, my condition, all because of that shift in mindset, shift in attitude. We can't change the way we look. I say this to anybody and everybody. We can't change the way we look. What we can change is our mindset and our attitude. And when we change that, things start to happen.
Yeah. At what point, you said if Kerry had asked you 3 years ago, that the question, you would have been completely different. Can you pinpoint at what moment it was that you changed, that something went, that's it?
I think I can. So when I started creating TikTok videos and sharing my story and sharing my journey, I had this DM that come to me, this message that come to me from a young girl in South Africa. And she had the same condition as me, but her tumors were growing on her legs. And she said to me, Amit, I really like your content, love what you do, love how you're just sharing tips, but I struggle with going swimming. I really enjoy swimming, but I struggle going into the pool because I think my friends are going to start judging me, and I think other people just come out the pool if they see me, and I really struggle with that. And that's the moment I went from my journaling. I thought my cricket story, and I thought, actually, when I started playing cricket, people started making friends with me, and I started joining the cricket club, and I told her that, look, I used to love cricket and I used to be scared, and one day I played cricket and everyone loved it. I was very good. And if you're passionate about swimming, you like swimming, and it is going to make you feel good, go take the plunge. And she said thank you, and I thought that was it. But 2 weeks after she came back to me and she sent me a screenshot of her Facebook post, and it was her in a swimming suit, and it said, I'm visibly different and proud.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I thought, if I can have that impact in someone's life without even knowing it, then this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And this is what I am going to do. I'm not going to stop making content now. It doesn't matter if I get 10 views or 100 views. As long as I can impact one person's life with my video, I'm going to keep going.
Absolutely.
I think that was the moment. I thought, I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. Tell me about your marriage to your, look at you, he's got a little smile there. Where are you?
I've got an anniversary date, yeah.
Have you? Yeah. Tell me about that. So was your wedding an arranged marriage? Or?
So all my siblings have had arranged marriages.
Yeah.
I describe arranged marriages as like real life Tinder.
Yeah.
Where photographs are exchanged.
Yeah.
But the people swiping are the parents.
Yeah.
And for me, every photo was being seen by parents and being rejected. And I love going back to India. I'm very close to India. I always go there, and I always spend time in India with family and friends there. And I was speaking to one of my friends about this arranged marriage thing and saying that, it's not really working, finding it really hard. My sister spoke to him as well. Like, he said, "Oh, you're his friend. Why can't you just find somebody for him and, meet them up?" And I came back to England, and he introduced me. He messaged me and said, "Oh, there's this nice girl that lives near, my sister lives in India, lives near your sister's house. I want to introduce you. What do you think?" And I was like, "Well, if you think she's nice, sure, introduce us." And I was about to go to India after a few months. So I said, "Yeah, sure." And then I'll go and speak to her. So he went to speak to her, and she said no. She said no, not because of the way I look.
Mm-hmm.
She's a makeup artist by profession. She's like, "I'm way too busy. I'm fully booked for the wedding season. And there is no way I'm moving to England. I'm not leaving India. So no, I don't want to talk to this person." So
Yeah.
my friend came back to me and said, she said no. This is why she said no. But here's her number anyway. Message. I'm like, "I'm not going to message her." She said no. He goes, no, trust me, just message her. He convinced me to message her. So I did. I just said, "Hey, my friend gave me your number, and I hear that you live near my sister's house. Hope you're well. Hi." And she didn't respond for about a day. And I was like, "What? It's so embarrassing. Why have I done this? I'm going to bump into her one day in India, and it's going to be very bad." But then she replied.
Yeah.
She replied back saying, "Hey, yeah, he said he's going to give me your number. Hi, thanks. How are you?" And there was an instant click. Like, people ask me what love is. And I think it's a click. It's either there or it isn't. You just connect.
Yeah.
And we connected. And it's really funny. I said, "Oh, what do you like doing?" She said, "I like cooking." And I was like, "Well, I like eating." So
I love that.
I think there's a connection here. We were joking around. And, India's 4.5 hours ahead of us. And like that first day, I think it was like, she sent me a picture of her clock, and it was like 3:30 in the morning in India. And it was like, 11 o'clock here. We're still talking, and there's this connection. And I just felt good. I just felt like happy and like I was in a cloud or something. And we kept messaging back and forth, sending her photos of my face. She was sending me some pictures of her. And then the moment where she said, "Amit, stop hiding your face," that was probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks into it. And then we got to the point of her going to her family and saying, "There's something here, I've met somebody." And she said to me, "Amit, I don't think my family will agree." And they didn't. Her dad quoted, "I would rather commit suicide than let you marry a man with a face like this." Her dad was saying, "There's no way this is happening. If you want to get married, if that's what you want, we'll get you arranged marriage." And he was saying, "We'll get someone in from local who's normal, and we'll get you married. It's fine." And she's like, "No, Dad, I don't want to get married. I want to marry this man. It's not that I just want to get married." And she said something really, 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 I say funny now, but really clever. She said to her dad and her family, "I will marry someone you want me to marry, but here's a piece of paper that says this person will never have an accident, will never have a mishap, and never break a leg, or something never will happen to their face. Like, they'll never have a motorbike. Can you guarantee that they'll never have an accident? Because your problem is that he's got this messed up face." So
that was very
can
clever.
you guarantee that the person I
Yeah.
marry is never going to have a misfortunate event that's going to affect their body? And I think my mother, my brother and brother-in-law and my sister who live in India went to their house and said, "Look, what's the objection here?" And they're like, "Well, what will society say? What will people say? People will say, oh, we're just giving our daughter away because he lives in England, and they're going to say we're doing this for the wrong reasons. We don't agree to this." But they eventually said, "Okay, you know what? If they want to get married, that's fine. They can get married. it's going to be a small event. We're not going to come to it. You guys do what you need to do. You guys do it, and then that's fine. And she phoned me and said, can you come to India? I went to it. It was COVID that time, so it was really difficult to fly. But we got all the necessary documents, paperwork, went to India. We went to India on the 5th of December. We got married on the 12th of December. The first time I met her face-to-face was on the 8th of December. That's the first time we met face-to-face. Everyone in England, all my family in England, were on edge. Like, what is she going to do when she sees me face-to-face? How is she going to react? Is she suddenly going to reject me? Because it's very different looking on the phone. I wasn't actually thinking about that. I was just quite excited to see her. So on the 8th of December, we met in a restaurant. She was sitting across me, just like at a table like this. And I said, so how do you feel? And she was like, just like I do on the phone. I go, so you made me fly 4,000 miles to say that this feels like it did on the phone. Shall I just go back?
Love that.
Shall I just go back to England?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, we'll get married, but it's just the same, isn't it? Or we'll get married, it's just the same. I've just spent my life savings to get here during COVID. And you're like, yeah, we'll just get married, aren't we? But unfortunately for her, every bride wants that big fat wedding, don't they? They want that nice thing. And in India, weddings are very flamboyant. They're very gracious. They're very, big.
Yeah.
We got married in a small temple. Her mother didn't attend. Her father attended because legally he had to and sign some documents. From my side, we went with a good, decent size of people, but she didn't get what she wanted. It was really, really, because of my face and because we're in a temple and because I was getting married, all the local people around, they were like, oh, there's this guy with a funny face getting married in the temple. So suddenly the temple was full of people getting their phones out in front of my face, taking pictures of my face and then her, and like trying to like make it viral. Or this freak is marrying this girl today in the temple. We got through all of that. And then eventually her family, about a month, I stayed in India for about 3-4 months after getting married. So eventually her family invited me to go over to their house, and we went and spent some time with her mother, her father, her family, her brothers. Her brother said to me one day, Amit, we went out for a drink, and he said, it wasn't the fact that you have this condition. It wasn't. What it was is we didn't want our sister to marry you, then suddenly realize she's made a mistake and let you down. And I found that interesting. I kind of saw his thought process. I understood that. And when I spoke to Piali about it, Piali said, I understand where he's coming from. I do, because he doesn't want to cause you pain in this process of me then changing my mind. So we kind of resolved it. We moved on, and we're in a very good place now with her family. I'm going to India next month. We're going to be spending some time with her family, with her sister, with her brothers, and I'm looking forward to it. So there is
that is a beautiful story, and it is purely about love. Because love, you see the whole person, don't you? When you love somebody, they shine.
Yeah. And I have to say, I wouldn't be here creating content and doing everything I'm doing now had she not nagged me to make that video.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she saw that there's more to me than just this 9-to-5 job and hiding. Because I was masking at that time. I was masking. I was going to work, but I was still not really in acceptance of who I am.
Yeah.
Did you receive any like counselling or any therapy when you were going through everything?
No, and that's because I was never man enough to admit that I need that or go for that.
Wow.
Especially now as a man, first of all,
Of
but
course.
in our community as well. It's like, we don't need therapy. We don't need counselling. Things are fine.
Wow.
This is how it is. We just deal with it. We find ways to deal with it.
I just find that even more inspiring and empowering, because you have done this yourself. You've empowered yourself. You've reached within. And again, that just shows how powerful we are as human beings, that we can do anything and shift our mindset and everything emotionally.
But isn't it true that no level of therapy and counselling will help until we really go deep.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I agree with you completely. That's exactly what I thought when you said that. I don't need it. And to have come to the point that you are now in your life just shows how strong you are. I mean, I have beliefs, and touch on something Kerry said earlier, that we do choose our life. That's just my belief. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it true. It's just my belief. And I think when people take on certain things, it's because their soul knows they're strong enough to do that.
But we do choose our life.
Yeah.
We do. And
yeah.
I had two choices.
Yeah.
I had the choice of sitting back and feeling sorry for myself, or dealing with it and getting on with it.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad that I dealt with it, in the early days through my parents, my father, and his encouragement and push, and later on my wife. I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing had those two individuals not contributed to my life in the way they did. But I had that choice. I made that choice to say, I'm going to get on with it.
Absolutely. And that's such a powerful message. Yeah. Such a powerful message. So as you sit in front of Kerry and I now, how do you feel now? Who are you?
I feel so
now?
good. I feel so good, and I'm so excited about what the future holds. When I left my job, and I was sitting on my dining table thinking, what now? I didn't know what the next 12, 24 months looked like, but they've been the most incredible 12 to 24 months that I could have asked for. A best-selling book that's, #1 in US and Canada and Australia. I work at the NHS now. That in itself is a beautiful story, where I got seen by the head of diversity and inclusion at the trust that I work at, came to me and said, Amit, I think your lived experience can really have an impact on the work we do. Would you want to apply? And I applied, and I got that job. And now every day I deal with bullying and harassment within the NHS and how we can break that down. I have my own podcast, which I'm so proud of. I have my own social media that I'm really, really proud of. And I'm in the process of writing a book called The Confidence Code. So I feel so good, and I feel so empowered that I can make this difference. And I just want to keep doing what I'm doing.
I can really feel it off you.
Yeah, so can I. So can I. And I when you and I had a chat the other week, and I went home and I said to Craig, after about 5 minutes of talking to you, I didn't see your disability. And I bet a lot of people say that to you who know you.
They do.
Because you see Amit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you feel Amit.
And that's what I want to say to anybody who's struggling. Anybody who's struggling, disability or no disability, the moment you embrace who you are.
Yeah.
Because everyone has
saying that's it.
Everyone has likes, interests. Everyone has something about them that they're very proud of. They might not accept it. They might not bring it out, but it might be cooking. It might be reading.
Yeah.
Just anything that's about you that you're proud of, bring it out to the world. And suddenly people will start connecting with you for that rather than your disability or your insecurities.
Yeah.
With the confidence code, tell me a little bit more about that. I know you touch on the kind of the step process that you've used, but is that something you're thinking about rolling out? Where are you? What's the vision with that? Because that excites me.
It excites me. And I don't fully, just like 2 years ago, I didn't know where my life is going to be in 2 years. When I started this podcast, I was telling the guys here that I don't know where we're going to be in a year's time with this podcast, but I've got a feeling it's going to be something good. And similarly with the confidence code, I don't know how I'm going to package it into something that can be impactful for people, but I know it's going to be good.
Oh, I can really feel that. I think that should be rolled out in schools, colleges. I mean, think big with this, the confidence code, because everybody, especially the society, we get really affected by our confidence and everything. So, oh my God, I feel so excited about that. The confidence code.
No, thank you.
Look at the way
heard it first.
Well,
I know.
the confidence code.
I love it.
It's got that thing to it, hasn't it? And I'm really, it's hard, but it's hard at the same time. It's difficult. I'm sitting in this position now where I don't know where my next 12 to 18 months are going to be, but you have days where you think, oh, nothing's moving, nothing's shifting. Okay, my views aren't where they should be. Okay, I'll start this podcast, but is it going to be successful? Is it not going to be successful? How am I going to find guests? But things work out. As long as we're taking action every single day, things work out. It's what people need to understand is whenever they want to achieve something in life, whatever that goal might be, that it's a journey and it's an up and down journey. There are going to be days where you feel like, I can't do this, I want to give up. There are days where I feel like I can't do it and just give up. And it was that what we spoke about, the boxes.
Yes.
That's when we need to start putting things into boxes and saying, okay, let's deal with this box now and ignore the other boxes for a bit. And then we'll come back to the other boxes.
Do you find when you step into your, what I call following your bliss, following your passion, there is an element where you have to step out of your head and drop into your heart, and you have to trust, allow, and surrender?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to do that, because you have to let the universe bring whatever it is that you need to you. And I really believe the right people, the right person, the right things come into your life in the right time. I wouldn't have been where I am today in this journey if the right people didn't come into my life in the right time.
Absolutely.
My boss at NHS coming to me in the right time and offering me that opportunity to apply for a role. The web designer who designed my website. Really funny story about this well, not funny story, but really important story to prove that right people come into your life in the right time. When I wrote my book and I released it on social media, Trudy Styler bought 10 copies. Now, I didn't know who Trudy Styler was. So for people who don't know maybe, but I'm sure everyone knows, she's Sting's wife. I had no idea she was Sting's wife.
Oh, gosh, no.
I had no idea.
Did you?
No,
I don't know.
I had no idea she was Sting's wife, so it's okay. But that was a big deal. My brother's a big Sting fan. He's a big Bryan Adams fan. He's like, Sting's wife bought your book? And I was like, yeah, she bought 10 copies. And then she messaged me saying, oh, would you sign them for me? She wants to give it out to her NGO. And I was like, wow, yeah, sure. So she got her office to send me the books, signed them, sent them back. And she sent me a thank you message. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to ask her. I said, I'm starting a podcast. And I was wondering if you knew anyone, contacts, anybody that you could put me in touch with who could help me with some sponsorship or some support. And she was like, Amit, I'm going to pay for some of your episodes. And she kicked me off. She got me started.
Wow.
And that is just the proof that the right people come into your life in the right time. If your intention is right, if your motive is right, you're creating impact, adding value, the right things and the right people will come into your life. Like Trudy Styler came out of nowhere into my life and said, here, start this podcast.
That's it. It's when you're in your bliss, as you call it,
when
flow, and the intention. I think the intention's huge. You say when the intention is right.
We are so powerful.
Yeah.
We are so powerful. And I think people out there underestimate the power of us,
as human beings. So what's your message now? What do you want to say to humanity? Let's say, to humanity.
I think it's about acknowledging differences. We need to celebrate each other. We're all different. We need to celebrate each other. We need to stop being cruel and mean to each other because of our differences. I don't mean that by just physical differences. I mean that about everything, from a political realm to visible differences, to countries, to humans just being against each other. We're all different, and let's celebrate that difference. I think that is really important. And this piece about start with yourself. Long as you start with who you are deep down, everything else will start to fall into place from there. The moment I discovered myself, the moment I said, this is me, this is who I am, I have this condition, but now I'm going to channel it in this way to make this difference, it was the beginning for me. So that's my message.
If I were at home and I were, really struggling with who I am, because so many people, it's like, well, I don't know who I am and I don't know how to connect with myself. What would you say to that?
It takes time. It takes time to discover yourself. It takes time to discover who you are. It's a journey. It took me 33 years to get to a point where I said, this is me. So give yourself time and it will come. And journaling helps a lot. Writing down your thoughts, writing down your past, writing down things that have upset you, but also writing down things that make you happy really, really helps because it just clears the mind.
Yeah. Do you think it kind of gives you almost a feedback
Yeah.
on how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis so that you can see patterns in your life.
It does.
Really.
And it really helped me when I started journaling my thoughts, my feelings, when I started writing the things that upset me, but also the things that I'm good at. So journaling is really, really important because it gives you clarity, gives you that thought process. And for me, it's about those actions that I write. So I write actions every, on the 31st of December every year, I write down 10 goals that I want to achieve for the following year. And I stick that onto my wall and I look at it every day and I think about what actions I can take to get closer and closer to those goals. And then on the following year, on the 31st night, I review and I tick the ones that I've done and I put it into a folder so I can look at those folders and see what success I've had and how I've done it. And it's a really, really powerful tool. And you can do it in a small scale as well, where you make goals for the month, the week, the day. You just tick it off.
I love that. Yeah.
I find lists really, if I write a list, and it's so satisfying when you tick it off that you've done it or cross it off.
I have to highlight mine.
Do you?
With
You're
a
a
yellow
highlighter.
highlighter
What do you
when
do?
it's done.
I cross it out.
Yeah.
Cross it out.
Cross it out.
Yeah.
I love it.
Wow.
Well, Amit, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's been so good. I've really
we
enjoyed it.
can't wait to sit here again and talk about the confidence code.
The confidence code that I can,
Yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
go big.
Yeah.
Watch
You've heard it first.
Yeah,
Shift
yeah.
happens.
So shift happens. Thank
Yeah,
you so
thank you.
much
Thank you
for
so
talking.
much.
What
It's been a
an
pleasure.
amazing story. And there's so much more to learn.
Thank you.
So much more.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for watching our episode on Shift Happens. I don't know about you, but I feel so inspired and empowered. My question to you is, where can you start digging deep and making choices in your life where you can follow your own bliss and make those empowering changes